this afternoon. I know you're busy and you have a lot of things to do, so if you took time out to learn about this, I really appreciate your valuable time. So, if I can get my slides to move here, and we'll get off. So, you can see here that the EcoQube Pro comes in either a 45 unit case for large projects like schools. We're doing a lot of schools with the EcoQube Pro. And so we will lease or rent short term these devices for large projects. And then we also lease 4 packs. I made some rare exceptions for people who are just getting started in the business. If you just need two, I'll make an exception for that. You'll need to send me a message about it. But typically, we lease them in packs of 4 units, and I'll talk about that. You'll see that there's a mobile app that you use to start and stop the devices. And then there is a web dashboard that you keep track of all your records and complete your reports. And so I first want to clarify that this device is an NRPP approved device for professionals. It's also true that we are an approved laboratory by the NRPP. We're also licensed by the New York Environmental Laboratory Accreditation Program. The state of New Jersey is a radon measurement business. The state of Florida is a radon measurement business. We have an Iowa lab license. We are I think we've just got a couple of other licenses. So in most states that have a licensing program, we're good to go. If you have any questions, if you didn't see your state here, then by all means, give me a call or ask on the webinar. Our lease program includes annual calibration replacement. We do review the data for anomalies, so we are the analysis provider in these states, or even in the NRPP program. You can be a technician and work under our license. Both myself and one of my colleagues are licensed in these states as a specialist or the professional, depending on the circumstance. And then that gives, because we're doing the analysis for you, then you can operate as a technician. The results are available within minutes of terminating the test. We analyze them using an AI algorithm and program. It takes a couple minutes, and then they will be analyzed and you can access the results. The mobile app is real simple to use and quick to deploy and quick to retrieve and you get the data and send it to the server. And we are able to track duplicate tests as part of your quality control and provide the relative percent difference for your reports. We have state-approved QA plans and standard operating procedures we can provide you with, and we will provide the state-required test activity reports where they are necessary. So first thing I want to mention here is that I actually came on board with Ecosense because after I retired from NRPP and ARST as the executive director, I called Ecosense because the sensor has always intrigued me and I wanted to invest in the company. And to make a long story short, they talked me into coming to work for them as well. And it was the sensor that got my attention back when it first came out. It's incredible that they've been able to design a sensor that can gather 30 counts per hour for every picocurie per liter. That means each of the hourly results is very, very reliable as opposed to most of the professional devices that are commonly used out there that will get anywhere from 3 to 4 counts per hour per picocurie per liter. So the hourly results on those devices are not very accurate. Not to say that the overall average isn't accurate, but they just don't collect enough data um, per picocurie per liter in a 1 hour time period to be able to report really good, accurate hourly results. So we're able to track really what's going on from 1 hour to the next, which is extremely helpful in trying to characterize the radon entry and the things that drive that radon entry. So that information is valuable, and we're proud of that superior sensitivity. You don't have to mail results to the lab like you do with charcoal, so the results are quickly available. The mobile map makes it easy, and the reporting is easy. You don't have to keep track of charts and clipboards and paper and that sort of thing. We provide a way for you to manage that on our dashboard. Every device has a scannable code, barcode, where you can either use Bluetooth to connect with it, or you can just, with the Bluetooth, scan the code and go directly to that device. It's real simple and fast. The dashboard will manage both projects and single tests. I'll show you how that works. And keep track of your testers, the different technicians or so that work for you, as well as all of your devices. We have an auto stop option as well. You can set it for a 48-hour, a 72-hour, or a 96-hour test. Now, that said, you can set it for a 96-hour test. And if you come back at 72 hours, you can stop it with your mobile app. You can stop it when you go to retrieve it. But if you don't get there in time and you set it for a 48-hour test, then it will just stop at the end of that 48 hours and wait for you. The good thing about that compared to charcoal, as you may know, is you don't have to worry about being there promptly. If something prevents you from getting access to the property to retrieve the device, in that 2 to 3 day period, then it's not going to spoil like a charcoal canister. That needs to be only deployed for a certain amount of time, and then it needs to be quickly returned to the lab for analysis. So you've got those options. And we also provide that QC summary of the duplicate tests for your quality control plan. Again, this is real-time analysis, real hourly readings. So you can, according to the protocol for doing, say, large buildings, you can make a decision on a single deployment, whereas with charcoal, if the result comes back elevated, you're to perform a follow-up confirmatory test before you make a decision to mitigate. So this saves you that extra step in the event the results are high. You don't have to do blanks. You don't have to do spikes like you would with charcoal. And we take care of the calibration as part of the service. The way that works is when the calibration date is about to expire, say in that last month, then we will send you an email and let you know that we are going to be replacing those serial numbers that are due for calibration, and you will be receiving monitors within a certain time from that email. And then when you get them, you're just going to place the ones that are due for calibration in the box that those came in and send them back to our radon chamber, and then we calibrate them and rotate them out to someone else. So it's very simple. You don't have to send your devices off to the lab for calibration and wait for them to be returned. We replace them in advance. So you're going to save time and money by the fact that you can use these over and over again compared to charcoal. You can determine the mitigation scope the same day. So for example, a common situation for larger buildings is you would place a charcoal device. It comes back elevated. You have to do a confirmatory test. Usually that's charcoal, or maybe you do a longer one with an alpha track device, and then it comes back elevated. So now you can recommend mitigation. The mitigator gets called to come out, and the first thing they're going to have to do is run a test with a continuous monitor where they can look at the hourly readings and see that if there's a link between when the radon is moving up and when the air handler or the ventilation system is operating or when it shuts off. So now you've had three tests at that property before you're able to start talking about the root cause and planning the mitigation system. Whereas with our EcoQube Pro, you can make a decision with that single test, and then you can get on with your planning to mitigate it if indeed that's called for. You eliminate the need to disturb a property manager or the school environment, the students and the teachers and the faculty. You get to just do it, do one test and then move on. And then you don't have to risk charcoal devices getting lost in shipping or getting delayed too long because of bad weather and that sort of thing, because the results are available right away. So you're going to get your report to your client much faster. You can generate the report the same or even the next day after pickup. And this is really important for large projects, which sometimes take weeks to get the results. And if it's let's say it's a multifamily building, they're trying to get on with the closing of a loan, perhaps, and the bankers are looking for it. If it's a school, they obviously need to get those results and where they can make their preparations and start planning budgets in the event that they need to mitigate. It's a great device for saving time and in the long run saving money as well. So deploying them is pretty simple. You can, if you're a home inspector and you're doing single tests in residences, then you can put them on a tripod. There's a little clip that I can show you where to get that screws right on the top of a tripod, and we have a lot of inspectors in states like New Jersey where they operate as technicians. Same as in Florida and Illinois, where they work as technicians under our professional license. And then they like the tripods in that situation. But for large projects, you can actually put them on an interior wall with a command strip that doesn't impact the paint. They're easy to take off. You need to follow the instructions, but it works real well as long as you do. And they're quick to deploy. You plug them in and put them on the wall and start the test, and you're off in just a minute or so. Every device has a prominent label on the front that says that there's a test in progress, identifies it as a radon gas detector. Do not discard or disturb. There's a QR code there that you can scan, or the occupant can scan, and they'll go to a website that explains the test process and what's happening, and not to be concerned about the device itself. It's just there passively collecting data. It's compact, but it's not so small to be accidentally thrown away or damaged. They're surprisingly durable. We've been very pleased with how many times these are able to be deployed day in and day out, and they are week in and week out, and they hold up extremely well. We're now on quite a number of devices that have gone out for their second year after calibration, and they're continue to perform extremely well. And But this notice prevents you from having to put up paper notices everywhere. All you can let everybody know in the school, for example, that if they have any questions, they can just scan that code. Oops. Um, if you're a radon professional and have been for a while, then you know this, but I just like to highlight the fact that with hourly readings, you're able to see what's going on and the difference between the daytime concentrations and the nighttime concentrations, or the occupied hours versus the unoccupied hours. And that's extremely helpful, as I mentioned, in designing a mitigation system. So this device makes it real simple to get that right away. Every report, every location that you test, you're going to have that hourly data, and you can quickly take a look at it and see the pattern if there is one, and that's extremely helpful in designing the mitigation system. As you see here, you can start and stop the device with your mobile app. It takes I've had people time themselves to see how long after they did their first couple of tests, how long it takes to deploy one, and typically they're in an apartment and out, or in a school classroom and out in a minute and a half. It becomes very quick. A lot of the inputs on the mobile app will default after you put them in for that first test, will default to the same settings. So you don't have to enter that information every time. You can just skip right past it and start the test. You do have the option of putting these on Wi-Fi. They don't need Wi-Fi. Typically, you're not going to have access to it, but we have had some school districts that have had secondary Wi-Fi systems that they were actually choosing to monitor in progress the tests as they perform them. So that is an option when that Wi-Fi access is available. Um, this is a report for single tests, and you can see you've got the front page, you've got a second page with a list of, or a chart of all the hourly data. You can see the graph down at the bottom of the first page. You can insert pictures, you can insert PDFs. So if you're in a state where you need to import the non-interference agreement, or a sketch of where you placed it, that sort of thing, then you can add those right into the report. And then you can have the state information as part of it, and then as well as the recommendations as per the NCR standards, all of the NCR questions that they want answers to. Again, those default to the most common, so you don't have to enter all of those. You just skip right past them unless there is something unusual. So it makes it fast. And that is for the single tests. For the multifamily tests or school tests, we've simplified the report because there's no point in putting, for example, all the recommendations for every classroom that you test. The reason is you're going to have a summary report. So in our dashboard, and I'll show you how that works, you can create a summary report of all the tests that you deployed in the school building, for example. And then it's going to have all the recommendations and pertinent information in that summary report. And the individual location tests will be limited to, some basic information, the hourly readings, the graph, and so forth. That's the distinction. So I'm going to kind of get to the pricing right now, and then I will show you how this dashboard and how it all works. But if you're a home inspector, a radon tester, and you just are doing primarily single tests, then you can lease a 4-pack of these devices for $30 per month per unit. So a 4-pack would run you $120 a month. There's a one-time account activation fee of $100. If we're attending the webinar, we'll knock $15 off of that for you if you'd like to do that. Again, the lease includes the annual calibration replacement and our serving as your laboratory or your measurement business where you can work under our license as a technician. And then if you are interested in a large volume, we do have some large volume home inspectors who have at least a case of these because they have multiple inspectors, excuse me, and they're doing lots of tests. And so you can lease these for $20 a month per unit. Again, the leases are a 6-month minimum obligation, and then you can terminate with 30 days notice at any time. So if you're doing a large volume, then this is a great way to save money. And then finally, if you're doing schools or large building projects and you're just going to need them for a project or a couple of projects and you just need them for the short term, we will provide quotes for short-term rentals, and we're competitive on those. So the thing to do, and typically they're going to run in between that $20 and $30 per month per device. We will provide you a quote if you will let us know how many buildings you have in your project and how many you're going to need for each building. Then we can perhaps provide you enough devices to do the first building, and then you can use that group again for the second building, perhaps even a third building. And the more you use these, the less your per test costs become. So we'll try to work it up on kind of what it would be for charcoal, and then you can compare it. And we have a lot of happy customers who are finding this is a much smarter way to go because the pricing is good, but it also is going to save you a lot of time in preparing your report, your summary report, because we've got a way to make that extremely quick and simple. So I'm going to get out of here and go over to a different screen. And I'm going to ask somebody again, if you would, to raise your hand if you see that I changed screens. All right. Thanks, Gail. Appreciate that. All right. So you can see here over on the left, we've got projects, we've got single tests, we've got settings, and we've got support. So for example, in settings, when you set up your account, all your account information will be here. You can put in your logo here as well, where it will appear on all your reports. Single tests. So let's say we also enable you to put in a date range. So if you, over time, you may start to get lots and lots of tests, so you don't have to wade through them all. You can put in your date range where you limit some of it. This is a tester in, I guess New Jersey here. And you can see that if you click here, this is a test that started on the 19th and finished on the 21st. And you can see over here it's analyzed. It's gonna, if the test is in progress, it's gonna say in progress, and it'll be a different color. Once it's been stopped with the mobile app and the data sent to us, it will say analyzing for probably at least 2 minutes while the AI goes through looking at the hourly data, make sure it's within certain parameters that we've set up, And if indeed it's not, it'll kick it out for a human review. And it may take a little longer, but as soon as it's gone through the process, it will then turn to analyzed. If you click here, you can see that you've got the lowest concentration, the highest concentration, and what the average was for this. So there wasn't much radon in this particular location. You can go in and edit here if you, this was set up for a 4-hour delay period and a 48-hour test performed in the basement. Mitigation system wasn't installed. Standard test means it's a test that is just a typical test. If you're doing a duplicate, then you're going to, on the mobile app, you will change it to say duplicate original or duplicate duplicate. And that way we can match those up when we do your QA summary. Retrieved by, if it's different, you can edit that here. And then if you, once you verified that, then up here at the top, you can see there's a generate report. So if you go into generate the report, then you can select the ANSI Arts compliances. And then once you do that, you can put in the client. If you've got clients already in your database, you can just select that client. I think this tester typically just puts them in when they run their report. And then you can go through the rest of the requirements. I'm going to put something in here just for just to show you the next. Well, maybe I'm not going to be able to. Oh, there it is. I'm actually, you can see in the admin side from my end, not the client side. So you put in the name and the address of your client, the county if it's New Jersey, the municipality if it's New Jersey, and then you can go on to the next. It's not going to let me do that until I put something in all of those. And then you can finish out your report. I'm not going to take the time to do all that, but it's real simple to set up that report. And as soon as you're done, then it's going to, let me get back out of there. It's going to generate a report, and I'll show you what one of those looks like over here. Go back here. Well, this person has done any single tests. I think maybe they do mostly. Here's one. I'm looking at a couple of different things. So well, here, I'll tell you what, let me get over here to somebody else's. I'm going to move my uh, this is mostly somebody who does large projects. So let's see if they've got some single tests. Oh, here's one. All right. So I can go in here and again, you see the information. Here was the high for the test, the low, and in the middle is the average and all that information. And then you can, this will typically say generate report. This one says edit report because that report's already been generated. If I go over here to the reports and I can click on one and you can see here's the report. You can see here's the average concentration, all the information about the device name, serial number, when it started, when it stopped, where it was placed. Here are all the hourly readings. You You can scroll across them and it'll show you what the reading was for any of those points. You can go to the next page and it will list off the hourly readings. The next page is the recommendations, and then the ANSI ARST questions that you do quickly. Once that's done, since we analyze the data, we can sign off on it for you as the analysis provider. And then we even have a page for the uncertainty, depending on what the radon concentration is. You can see what the plus or minus or the percentage error there is in the results. You can enter client information ahead of time if you want, or you can do it when you do the test. Now, this company mostly does projects. So you can see for projects, I can go in and pick one here, and you can see that this is the project. It was a clubhouse. It was a construction company they did it for. And I can actually come over here to status. If I want to create a summary report, then it will show me all of them. I think this one already has a summary report. Maybe they haven't run it yet. So let me get back to another one over here. Summary report. Pick one, they've done. I'll go back a little further. Da, 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 da. I should have picked somebody else's. Let's see. On a different one. Okay, here's a summary report here. You can see it puts in the information for the company and the specialist or technician, in this case, where it was placed, and the purpose of the measurement was post-construction. The standard was ANSI testing dates. Total of 45 continuous monitors were placed at this site. You can see that 64% of them fell between 0 and 1.9 picocuries per liter, and 36% fell between 2 and 3.9 picocuries per liter. None of them in this particular project were over 4. You can see here that there's some boilerplate stuff about the radon information. In this case, for the state of Georgia, it'll automatically put the information in for your state, about follow-up testing, what's included here. Here you see all of the placements. So here is the room tested. You can see that all the rooms are listed, the start date, stop time, finish time, and so forth. It'll go through all of the rest of them. So sometimes there's more than one page. And then here are the duplicate results. So you can see here's a pair here. One was 2.3, one was 1.9. Here's another pair, 2.1, 2.3, another pair, 1.7, 1.6, and another pair, 1.2 and 1.3. It gives the relative percent difference and so forth. Gives a little table explaining what all that means. And then here is the sign-off page. Now, the way this works, when you go in and do your summary report and you complete it, it's going to first give you a message at the bottom that says, instead of download, it's going to say awaiting review. And so then we're going to get an email at Ecosense, and one of our staff is going to go in and review the report, and then sign it electronically, and then it will come back to you as a signed report. And that takes no more than an hour or two typically. Just depends on how quickly somebody can get over and get it done, but it's pretty fast. And so then you can send those reports out to your client. You can add individual results if you like. Most of the testers do not add the individual results unless they're elevated. But you can see over on the project, if I go into um, the individual reports, I can I can see here that, for example, uh, here's one for what room was this? This was 6102 was the location. So that was probably the apartment number. And again, there are the hourly readings and so forth. So you see, it's just a two-page report. It doesn't have all the other information. So that's how it works. I didn't show you the app, but the app again is really simple. You're just gonna take your phone. There are about 6 inputs. Most of them are going to default to where you put them the first time, and the way you typically do your testing, or the way you're going to do all of the tests for that particular project, if it's a large project. And the only thing you might need to change is when you're trying to do a duplicate, is you're going to change that from standard test to a duplicate, and the only other is your location ID. And so it's kind of bam, bam, bam. You do have the option to put it on Wi-Fi, like I said, but you can just skip right past that. If you do put it on Wi-Fi, then it goes on Wi-Fi like any other device. You pull up the Wi-Fi network, and then put in the password, and it's on. So I'm going to stop sharing and come back here. Does anybody have any questions? If you do, raise your hand. I would be happy to answer questions. If I see Wayne's got one, so hang on, Wayne, let me turn your mic on. Um, okay, you should be able to talk, Wayne. What's up? Wayne, you may need to unmute yourself. Let's see if I don't know if I can do it.
Can you hear me now?
I can now.
Okay.
Yes.
My question is, when these things are in operation, they create a file that's held internally inside the device, and that file then can be accessed by Bluetooth. But I have the impression, and I really don't know whether I'm right or not, but I have the impression that those devices can communicate with you guys without being connected to my Wi-Fi, or excuse me, to my Bluetooth, so that when they're in place, they can communicate. If a query is made to them, they can communicate with your
Ah,
website or whatever without having to be there with Wi-Fi with Bluetooth.
only if they were put on Wi-Fi. And and then we can track the data on our end. But if not, then it's just storing all of the collected data on board, on the onboard memory of the unit. And then when you go back with your app and connect via Bluetooth, then it's going to retrieve the data into your mobile app, and then there's a button that you just press to upload it to our server, and that's when we'll have it. And then that's why then it's going to take a couple of minutes for us to analyze it, and then, and review it, and then we'll post it over as analyzed on the dashboard. So in the NRPP lingo, this is a blind CRM, which means that, which is why we can operate as the lab, and you can just be a technician, for these states particularly that have, funny requirements about that. But the you're not able to directly access the data until we have reviewed it and then post it. With the with the technology today, we're able to do that real quickly.
That was a very good answer. Thank you, Dallas.
All right, thank you. Um, Anybody else? Let's see. Gail, if you want to unmute yourself, go ahead. Gail, did you have a question? You may have to take yourself off mute.
Mute.
I can
Okay.
hear you now.
All right, there we go.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to have to go back now that I'm ready to ask this question. I got to go back and look at the standards, but I've been operating in that I thought there was a deployment standard that requires the device be placed at least 4 inches from any surrounding object. What
Mhm.
about that device that's mounted on the wall? Does that
It can't be
violate?
an exterior wall. It has to be an interior wall. You need to be at least a foot from an exterior wall and at least 3 feet from an exterior, from a window. But putting it on an interior wall is no different than putting it on a table. It's just sitting this way instead of this way. Okay.
Okay.
And so that's in accordance with the standard.
All
Uh,
right. Cool. Thanks.
yeah. Good question. Anybody else? Okay. So here's what I request of you. If let me see, I've got one here. Ben, okay. Do you place two EcoCube units next to each other for a duplicate? Yeah, yeah, that's what you do. You would if it's time for you to do a duplicate, then you go ahead and deploy the first one. And as you're going through the mobile app, the one of the entries is going to default to standard test. If you select that, a little drop down um, appears and it'll say in addition to standard test, it'll say duplicate original and duplicate duplicate. That way we know, okay, that we match these up. So what you do is select duplicate original for the first one and go ahead and start it, and then you put one next to it, and you on that one you'll select duplicate duplicate, and then when you go to do your reports, then we can match them up and calculate the relative percent difference. So yes. Um, Now, otherwise, you would only put one per building or one per room. Now, if you're in uh, Illinois, for example, Illinois has a requirement even for single family that if you have multiple footprints or foundation types rather, then you would need to place a test in each foundation type. Meaning, if you have a house that has a basement with an adjacent crawl space, then you would need to place a unit in the basement if it's livable and in a room above the crawl space. So you would have to have two tests for that address. If there happened to be another addition or something, perhaps that was slab on grade, then you would have to have one in the room over that slab as well. So that's when you would deploy, more than one in a residence. And even where it's not required, that's not a bad practice at all. The good thing about Illinois having done this for so long in their requirements is they've collected years of data that show that it's not that uncommon. If you had only tested the room in the basement, you may have missed an elevated concentration in a room above, say, an adjacent crawl space, because the perhaps the one in the basement was less than 4, and the one above the crawl was 4 or higher. So I hope that answers your question. Anybody else? See, I got a chat down here. Nomenclature suggestion for duplicates, original duplicate, duplicate. duplicate, primary duplicate, secondary duplicate. I'll bring that up to our uh, team. Maybe we can get them to change that. That's not a bad idea. Thank you for that. Um, Anybody else have a question? All right. Oh, Wayne, do you have another question? Is your hand just still up from the other one?
I do.
Yeah,
It
go
would
ahead.
seem to me that in Florida, where
Uh-huh.
radon mitigation is performed by mechanical ventilation, that the ventilation systems are not really very reliable. There's only been one test of the reliability of the ventilation systems, to my knowledge. It was conducted about 10 years ago, and it showed the mechanical ventilation systems were really unreliable. Out of 21 systems that were installed, only one of them performed as it was intended to, and 20 out of the 21 did not do what they were supposed to do. But what I'm finding is that here in Florida, those mechanical ventilation systems are very unreliable. Yet people have the feeling that it's a reliable system since they say that you only need to test once every 2 years. But as a practical matter, almost nobody ever tests again. Once this original clearance test is performed, nobody else tests again after that until a property is sold. But this is what my opinion is. I believe that one of these devices should be installed in the home and it should be monitored on a monthly or whatever basis for at least 12 months or maybe longer. And I believe that the property owner should be the one who would pay the radon company to provide that
Mhm.
monitoring service so that they would know when the system failed, because I have a feeling they fail a lot more often than people want to admit.
Yeah, we did that with our EcoGuard unit, and the reason that one is a little different. This EcoQube Pro is only capable of running 96 hours because it's using the onboard memory. But the EcoGuard, you go ahead and put it on the Wi-Fi, and then you can monitor, on and on and on. And we have a growing number of contractors who are putting those out on their jobs for just the reason you said. And we've also been finding we've got a group of I think it's the Boise, Idaho school district that has been testing schools out there for some time, and they actually got and I don't think I'm talking out of school here because they even put it out. I think it was out in the newspaper, but they got caught in a situation where somebody, a student and a teacher perhaps together did a project where they tested some radon in some rooms in the lower part of one of the schools and found elevated radon, and it made it out to the news, made it out to the PTA, and as soon as that got out to the public, they were hammered with demands from parents to get the schools tested. And so they've got probably 150 devices that they've had for months out there. And they're rotating them through different schools, and some of them they're testing over and over again. And then they went and got some EcoGuard units from us to ongoing test because they were looking really closely at the ventilation systems and when they came on and when they cycled off, and then they started trying to figure out, well, on Monday morning it it takes a little longer for the ventilation to bring the radon down. Um, and again, these were reliable ventilation systems, at least in the schools, for the most part, they found, but they just weren't structured, to run um, early enough in the morning after a weekend to bring the radon concentrations down. And then even during the weekday, they needed to set them back earlier than they had been, start them earlier in the morning. And then if they have more than a 2 day period, then they have to set them up for a different time. So they've been really studying all this, and they have found some maintenance they needed to do on those ventilation systems as a result. So yeah, you're preaching to the choir here. I learn more about this every day just by some of the the conversations I have with our clients who are doing just what you say.
A lot of the multi-housing, am I still talking?
Yeah.
A lot of the multi-housing is being built around where I am. I'm in Cape Coral, Florida, and near Naples and Sarasota. A lot of multi-housing is being built. And what I'm seeing is that they're installing a mechanical ventilation system that, frankly, I don't know how anybody could decide to do it other than the fact that engineers say this ought to work. And the result of it is that they get past a 2-day clearance test. And then it's not long after that, then the radon levels are no longer acceptable. And what I'm concerned with is the lender's exposure is exactly the same as it would be if they did not have a radon system at all, except for the fact an aggravating condition is that they're pretending that the radon tests that they're doing for 2 days is sufficient to give the lender protection for years after that, at least 2 years. I really believe that the lenders are going to get hit with some really substantial lawsuits down here because the radon mitigation systems, mechanical ventilation systems that are being installed are not doing what they're supposed to do, and nobody knows it. But what they're doing is
without monitoring it. You're exactly right.
putting in a blue oil-filled YouTube manometer to tell them that the system is sucking air. And what I find is that is a really unreliable way of determining what the radon level is. And I believe that if those guys want not to be exposed to millions of dollars in lawsuits, the lenders, they should really be romancing you right now and telling, and even providing you with additional financing so that you can expand your business so that each one of these units in these condo and apartment buildings will have one of your systems in it. And I really believe that's the case. And I think it's going to happen. I think that this is going to be a lot of fireworks fairly soon. The only escape for those guys, I think, is to use a system like what you've got. Nothing else will do anything nearly as well as yours will.
Well, thank you. I'd certainly like to see something like that happen. I think there's a lot of assuming going on in the radon business that it would be nice if people could follow up. We have seen acceptance in some of the HUD projects where we put in EcoGuard units for long-term monitoring, where the apartment owners, the company that owns the apartments could monitor long-term for those apartments that were mitigated, and we're starting to get some traction on those. But yeah, it would be great if we could get some more attention to this, because it is definitely a bigger problem than we know, I think. And even if it's not, we're just making assumptions that things are fine without really verifying it. So
now it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else have a question? Okay. I think I got everybody. If you forgot to ask something and you discover that after we end here, then please send me an email. I think everybody has my email address. We're going to follow up with you anyway and send you a recording. And then if you have any questions, need any assistance, want to talk about this or any of our other products, then by all means, give me a call. That's my job. I'd love to talk to you. And again, thanks for taking the time to be with me this afternoon. And we'll see you the next time we do one. Thank you.